Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video and hope you guys are doing well. Today, I want to talk about my top 5 Wrath raid bosses. Now, there's different reasons for all of them, but I'll go into that. I've done a similar video for Kata, but let's get into it. Gulus, is my first boss. It's in next. It's a pretty mean boss for most guilds. It's particularly easy even. And it comes after Patchwork, which is kind of an AFK boring fight. But for me, this is genuinely one of the most fun bosses I have in Wrath, and it was one of the bosses I always looked forward to in Nax. It's got simple mechanics, and when the stars align and you get that good RNG pull, especially as a shaman being able to cleave the uses, it's just a crazy fun fight. I mean, it's one fight as an Ellie Shami I'm confident I'll end up in like the top 1, 2, 3 spot of a DPS meter almost every time. Secondly, then, we have Saaran. Now, whilst it wasn't a particularly exciting boss and it's a face roll now, the sheer amount of possibilities of how to do this boss made it enjoyable. You could do it 0 drakes up and it becomes a very, very easy boss. You could do it with 3 drakes up and it was actually a tough encounter earlier in tier 7. You could either Zerg the boss, which made it a enjoyable DPS check, or you could do it properly with all of the different mechanics and you involved handling different Drake mechanics throughout the fight. All of this without having to flick a switch and just turn it to heroic. I just think it's actually a really, really well designed boss. The third boss on my list is Albedon the Observer. Now, this boss was fun for numerous reasons. Having only an hour was a massive hurdle for ourselves and other guilds, and approaching it and knowing that the buck stops at an hour it just hadn't been done. It's different to things like the Lich King or end bosses in ICC, in that you don't just get to put it on normal and guarantee a kill if you can't get it within the 50 pulls. Once that hour is over, it's done. The fight itself is actually quite fun as well. It's quite intensive on all 3 roles, especially in kind of equal eye level gear, and the optimizations that were made throughout the tier to get it to be smoother and have different, like Shadow Priest kind of killing the stars during the Big Bang and things like that. It made it a very, very fun fight in my opinion, and puts it firmly on this list. Fourth on this list is Professor Putricide. After recently doing progression on PP, I am surprising myself by adding this to the list. But it's actually a very simple fight, made difficult by indecision and bad mechanics, mostly. And I'm really enjoying very mechanical fights. I do just generally enjoy them over every expansion, enjoy the more mechanical fights. You have different ways to approach this boss depending on group comp, and it's one of the more famed boss fights in Wrath of Lich King in general. I'm actually surprised by how easy it ended up being, and that's not like a weird flex or anything like that. I think it's a very easy boss, but it's famed as one of the harder ones because we didn't have all these weak auras and things that made it as it is now. So it's got a couple of points knocked off it, but it's still a very fun fight. Now, how could I add any other boss to the list but the Lich King as the final addition? I mean, the fight itself is actually very simple and scripted, and really I'm not joking. The phase 1 is literally just a healer check on Infest, move on a Shadow Trap, and drop a Dispel occasionally. The transitions, stand on the edge, kill some ads, heal the damage. Phase 2 is arguably one of the biggest progression traps, just because of the desynced rhythm, which when compared to a lot of retail bosses, abilities tend to happen in very specific orders, whereas Defile and Valk being desynced means that occasionally you'll get a Valk Defile, then you'll get Valk very close to Defile, then you'll get Defile Valk, and it changes throughout the fight, and then being desynced is actually quite fun. Going inside Frostmourne in phase 3 is just cool, and honestly the whole fight is awesome. Add an enrage timer that is incredibly tight, and just cool lore and stories and cutscenes. Great, once you've seen them, but you know. Lich King can't be anywhere other than number 1 on this list in my opinion. So let me know what your best fights of Wrath are. I'm really, really interested to know. Leave me in the comments below. Thank you for watching and catch you later. Fourth on my list is Professor